Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of information and really try to pull out the most important nuggets for you. Today, we're diving into a topic that's, well, feels like it's pretty much everywhere you look: vitamin supplements. You see them from social media influencers talking about glowing skin, all the way to the shelves in your local pharmacy. The buzz is just undeniable. And this isn't a small thing. We're talking a massive global market. It hit $48 billion back in 2022, and projections, they show it skyrocketing to $85 billion by the end of this decade. So the central question for our deep dive today is really this: do we actually need them? Or is a lot of this just, really clever marketing hype getting us to open our wallets?
That's exactly right. And our mission here in this deep dive is really to try and cut through all that noise. We're going to take a clear, impartial look at the scientific data, the real-world implications of using vitamin supplements, drawing directly from the sources you've gathered. We want to debunk some common myths, maybe reveal a few surprising truths, and help you, the listener, understand the, let's say, nuanced reality behind these incredibly popular pills, powders, and even gummies.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. Why are we so drawn to these things in the first place? It feels like there's a really powerful psychological pull, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I mean, everyone wants to feel healthier, look better, maybe live longer, right?
Mm.
And if there's this idea that a, relatively inexpensive pill can offer a shortcut, well, that's incredibly appealing.
It is.
Especially when you're constantly seeing these bold marketing campaigns replete with toned bodies and perfect smiles. It's hard to ignore.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting, something we've seen accelerate, is this shift from focusing on illness to focusing on wellness. Especially post-COVID, this has really picked up steam.
Okay. So moving from just treating sickness to actively trying to prevent it.
Precisely. It's propelled this change in consumption patterns. Prevention is now a primary focus for many. And we've seen a, frankly, remarkable surge in supplement use globally since the pandemic hit.
Wow. Do we have numbers on that?
We do. The statistics are quite striking. You're looking at over 70% of adults in both India and the U.S. now taking supplements, and it's nearly half the adult population in Australia.
70%. That's huge.
It is. And this explosion in demand hasn't just meant more pills. It's also led to a rise in all these different formats. Like you mentioned, the gummies, the powders, things that are maybe more palatable for people.
Right, making it even easier to incorporate into daily life. So with all this widespread usage, let's just take a step back and ground ourselves in the basics. What do our bodies actually need?
Good question.
We hear about micronutrients all the time, vitamins and minerals, and our bodies require them, but in really small, precise amounts for these crucial functions, like vitamin C for your immune system, vitamin A for eyesight, calcium for strong bones, magnesium for muscle function. The list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But the key thing here, I think, is that our bodies don't make most of these naturally. Is that right?
Yeah.
We have to get them from outside sources.
That's exactly it. Primarily, yes, through our diet. And this is where the whole concept of dietary reference intakes, or DRIs, comes into play.
DRIs, okay.
Yeah, these are science-based nutrition guidelines. Think of organizations like the National Academy of Medicine setting these. They provide benchmarks like the recommended dietary allowances, the RDAs, which aim to cover the nutrient needs for, the vast majority, like 97.5% of healthy people.
Okay, so that's the target.
Right. But crucially, DRIs also include tolerable upper intake levels, or ULs. And these are really important because they warn us about consuming too much, amounts that could actually be harmful.
The upper limit. Got it.
Exactly. And what's really interesting, if you connect this back to why supplements are so popular, is that despite these guidelines, despite people trying to eat well, study after study shows that a significant chunk of the population consistently falls short.
Falls short. Even people eating supposedly healthy diets.
Yes, they fall short of the recommended daily intakes for a surprising number of essential vitamins and minerals. One analysis looked at 70 different diets and found, for men, they failed to meet the RDA for nearly half the vitamins and minerals analyzed. For women, it was over a third. Collectively, deficiencies across the board were found in about 40% of micronutrients.
Wow. So even popular structured diets like Atkins or DHH, they might not be hitting all the marks.
That's what another study found. Popular plans like Atkins Best Life, DAHH, South Beach, they had deficiencies ranging from about 22% up to over 55% for 27 essential micronutrients. None of them achieved 100% sufficiency across the board.
That's actually quite shocking. So
Okay.
even if you're trying really hard with your diet, getting everything you need is...
It can be. Even diets often considered ideal, like the Mediterranean pattern or traditional Japanese diets, might not meet all nutrient needs for everyone in every context. For example, some studies found Spanish populations eating Mediterranean style still lacked enough vitamins A, D, E, and folic acid. So while things like fortifying foods, adding vitamins to milk or flour, have definitely helped reduce major deficiency diseases like scurvy or rickets, achieving complete micronutritional adequacy just from diet alone, it can be, as one source put it, elusive for many people. It's a real daily challenge.
Okay, this really sets the stage. If our diets aren't always cutting it, that naturally leads to the next big question. Do these vitamin supplements actually work as a solution? Because honestly, the evidence you see out there seems incredibly conflicting.
It really does.
You'll see some studies hinting at benefits, maybe a slightly lower risk of certain cancers or heart disease, maybe slower cognitive decline. But then you see so many others saying the complete opposite. No real improvement in heart health, no reduced risk of specific cancers, no difference in lifespan. What's the actual reality check here?
You've absolutely hit on the core challenge. Many of the claims made about supplements just aren't consistently supported by rigorous scientific evidence. So maybe we should systematically debunk some of the most common myths.
Yeah, let's do that. Where should we start? What's myth number one?
Okay, let's start with a really pervasive and potentially dangerous one. The idea that more is always better.
Right. If some is good, more must be great.
Exactly. But taking too much of certain vitamins isn't just wasteful. It can be actively harmful. For instance, excessive vitamin C can actually interfere with how your body absorbs copper. Too much phosphorus can inhibit calcium absorption. And then you have the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Unlike water-soluble ones like C and B vitamins, where your body usually excretes the excess, these fat-soluble ones can build up in your body tissues to toxic levels.
Toxic levels. That sounds serious.
It can be. Even relatively common supplements, if taken in excess, can cause problems. Too much vitamin C or calcium might lead to diarrhea or stomach pain. But long-term excess of vitamin D can cause hypercalcemia, too much calcium in the blood, which ironically weakens bones and can damage your heart and kidneys.
Wow.
And in really severe cases, getting way too much vitamin A or D can lead to things like blurred vision, nausea, dizziness, seizures, coma, and yes, even death. It really puts that more is better idea into perspective, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Going overboard isn't just ineffective, it's potentially dangerous. Okay, what's another common myth we should tackle?
How about the idea that natural automatically means safe? You see natural plastered on labels all the time.
Yeah, that feels like a big selling point.
It is, but it's a huge misconception. The term natural is essentially meaningless when it comes to guaranteeing safety or effectiveness. I mean, think about it. Cyanide is a perfectly natural compound, but nobody would argue it's harmless.
Good point. Poison ivy is natural too.
Exactly. So don't let a natural label lull you into a false sense of security. It tells you very little about whether something is safe or if it actually works.
Okay, natural doesn't equal safe. What else?
Another critical myth is the assumption that it's perfectly fine to just take supplements alongside your regular prescribed medications without a second thought.
Oh, right. People might think it's just vitamins. What's the harm?
Precisely. But the reality is many supplements contain active ingredients that can interact with prescription drugs. These interactions can sometimes boost a drug's effect to dangerous levels, or they might reduce its effectiveness, making your medication not work as intended.
Are these interactions common?
They can be. One review back in 2012 identified nearly 1,500 potential interactions. Common supplements involved included magnesium, St. John's wort, which is notorious for interactions iron, calcium, and ginkgo biloba.
And the scary part is, probably most people don't even mention the supplements they're taking to their doctor.
That's the biggest problem. Studies show most patients don't discuss their supplement use with their healthcare providers, which means doctors can't screen for these potential interactions. It's a hidden risk.
Okay, that's a really important one. So be careful with mixing meds and supplements and talk to your doctor. What about some of the big health promises, like supplements protecting your heart?
Yeah, that's a major claim you hear often. But when you look at the large-scale evidence, it mostly doesn't hold up. A big review in 2018 looked at popular supplements, multivitamins, vitamin D, calcium, vitamin C, and found no consistent benefit for preventing cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, or even dying from any cause.
No consistent benefit. That's pretty clear.
It is. There was one small exception noted. Folic acid and possibly some other B vitamins showed a slight potential to reduce stroke risk, but it wasn't a strong or broad effect across the board for heart health generally.
And didn't one study even suggest calcium might increase risk?
Yes, that's right. A reanalysis of data from the Large Women's Health Initiative study actually found that taking calcium supplements, either with or without vitamin D, was associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular events, particularly heart attacks, in postmenopausal women.
Wow, okay. So the heart health claims are largely unsupported and potentially even contradicted. What about the classic one vitamin C preventing colds? Everyone seems to pop vitamin C when they feel a sniffle coming on.
It's almost ingrained, isn't it? But a major Cochrane review from 2013 looked at this specifically. They found that for the general population, taking vitamin C regularly did not prevent them from catching colds.
So it doesn't stop you from getting sick.
Generally, no. However, the review did find that taking vitamin C regularly seemed to slightly reduce the severity of cold symptoms and shorten the duration how long the cold lasted by a small amount, maybe about a day for adults.
Okay, so it might help you feel a bit better, faster, but it won't stop the cold in the first place.
Pretty much. And there was an interesting finding for specific groups. People exposed to brief periods of severe physical exercise, like marathon runners or soldiers in subarctic conditions, did seem to have about a 50% lower risk of catching a cold if they took vitamin C. But for the average person, it's not a preventative shield.
Right. And speaking of things that might surprise people, what about antioxidants? We hear so much about them fighting aging, extending life. Is that backed up?
This is another area where the science throws a curveball. Many people assume, logically, that since fruits and vegetables are rich in antioxidants and are good for us, taking antioxidant supplements like vitamin E, vitamin A, or beta-carotene would give us an extra boost, maybe help us live longer.
Yeah, that seems intuitive.
It does. But a very large Cochrane review looked at this. They analyzed 78 randomized trials with almost 300,000 participants. And the finding was quite startling, even counterintuitive.
Okay.
In the studies considered to have the lowest risk of bias, the highest quality studies participants who took antioxidant supplements were actually found to be slightly more likely to die during the study period compared to those taking a placebo or no supplement. The increased risk was about 4%.
Wait, more likely to die, not less.
Exactly. It was a surprising and concerning finding. The conclusion from that massive review was that the current evidence does not support the use of antioxidant supplements in the general population or in patients with various diseases. In fact, some specific ones, like beta-carotene and vitamin E, seem to increase mortality slightly.
That completely flips the script on antioxidants, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a huge debunking of a very widely held belief.
It really is. It underscores how careful we need to be about assuming supplement benefits without strong evidence.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a lot to take in regarding whether they work and the myths. Now, let's shift gears slightly. We often hear that saying, multivitamins are just expensive urine. Is there truth to that? How well do our bodies actually absorb these vitamins from a pill compared to getting them from food?
Ah, yes, the expensive urine nickname. It's a catchy phrase, and there's definitely a kernel of truth behind it relating to absorption and utilization.
Okay.
Generally speaking, your body is far more efficient at absorbing and utilizing vitamins and minerals when they come from whole foods. When you eat, say, an orange, you're not just getting vitamin C. You're getting it along with fiber, bioflavonoids, and a whole complex matrix of other compounds.
And that helps with absorption.
Often, yes. That natural food matrix seems to help the body recognize and absorb the nutrients more effectively. Now, that's not to say your body doesn't absorb any vitamins from a supplement. It does. The vitamins in a pill are usually absorbed relatively soon after you take them.
But maybe not as completely, or the body doesn't use them the same way?
It can be less efficient, yes. And consistency becomes really key with supplements. That's why it's often recommended to take them daily, and ideally with a meal containing some fat and with water to help aid the absorption process for certain nutrients.
So while you do absorb some, maybe you just pee out a lot of the excess, hence the nickname.
That's particularly true for the water-soluble vitamins like B vitamins and vitamin C. If you take more than your body needs or can absorb at that moment, the excess is typically filtered out by your kidneys and excreted in urine. So yes, in some cases, you are literally flushing some of that supplement investment down the toilet. It definitely highlights that getting nutrients from a varied whole food diet is generally the more holistic and efficient process for your body overall.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've looked at the allure, the science, the myths, the absorption, but what about the industry itself? It feels like a bit of a Wild West sometimes. We hear concerns about unregulated products, especially things pushed hard on social media.
Yeah.
You see products with crazy high dosages, like 500, even 1,000% of the recommended allowance. And then there are talks, like in India, about trying to regulate supplements claiming to cure diseases more like actual drugs. It sounds like a real regulatory maze for consumers.
It truly is complex, and it's actually a common misconception that supplements are totally unregulated. They are regulated, but differently from drugs. In the US, for instance, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, oversees them. But, and this is key, they regulate supplements as a subset of foods, not as drugs.
Okay, what's the practical difference there?
The biggest difference is pre-market approval. Pharmaceutical drugs have to go through rigorous testing and clinical trials to prove they are safe and effective before they can be sold. Dietary supplements generally do not require this FDA pre-approval unless they contain a new dietary ingredient that wasn't sold before 1994.
So manufacturers can basically put a supplement on the market without proving it works first.
In terms of efficacy for treating a disease, yes. However, manufacturers are responsible for ensuring their products are safe before they go to market. They also have to follow good manufacturing practices, GMPs, to ensure identity, purity, strength, and composition. And they must report serious adverse events associated with their products to the FDA. So, arguably, they're regulated at a higher level than conventional foods in some respects, especially regarding manufacturing and safety data.
Right, so they're not completely unchecked. What about the claims they make on the packaging, like supports immune health or promotes energy? Who polices those?
That falls primarily to the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. Their job is to make sure that advertising claims on labels, websites, ads are truthful, not misleading, and are substantiated by competent and reliable scientific evidence.
Substantiated, does that mean proven?
It means the manufacturer needs to have scientific evidence backing up the claim. For what are called structure function claims, those examples like supports immune health, they also have to include a mandatory disclaimer. You've probably seen it. This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Ah, yes, the tiny print.
Exactly. That's required to distinguish supplements from drugs. And beyond the federal level, you also have state regulations. California's Proposition 65, for example, requires warnings about certain chemicals. And some states, like New York recently, have passed laws banning the sale of certain types of supplements, like weight loss or muscle-building ones, to minors.
Okay, and what about the issue of industry-funded studies? Does that automatically mean the results are biased?
That's a valid concern. Bias is always a possibility when the funder has a vested interest, and it has certainly been observed in some cases across different industries, not just supplements. However, it's not automatic. Many industry-funded studies are well-designed and contribute significantly to scientific knowledge. The key things to look for are transparency about funding, strong research methodology, peer review, and whether researchers disclose potential conflicts of interest. Skepticism is healthy, but dismissing all industry-funded research outright isn't necessarily helpful either.
Okay, so it's a complex picture, regulated but differently than drugs, with ongoing debates. Given all this complexity, the conflicting evidence, the myths, are there any scenarios where supplements are genuinely necessary or actually beneficial? It feels like we've debunked a lot of the general hype.
That's the crucial question, isn't it? And the answer is yes, absolutely. There are specific, scientifically supported situations where supplements are either necessary or very helpful. It's just not a blanket, everyone needs everything situation.
So what are some examples?
Well, think about targeted deficiencies or specific life stages. We mentioned folic acid earlier. The CDC strongly recommends that all women of childbearing age get 400 to prevent serious birth defects of the brain and spine. That's a clear, evidence-based recommendation.
Okay, that makes sense. What else?
Vitamin D is another big one. Many people, especially those in colder climates with less sun exposure during winter months or those with darker skin, may not get enough vitamin D. Supplementation is often recommended, especially since getting enough from food alone is quite difficult.
Right. I know doctors often test for vitamin D levels now.
Exactly. Iron supplements are another key example, particularly for reducing anemia during pregnancy, which is common. And then there are specific dietary patterns or populations with unique needs.
Like vegans?
Yes. People following a strict vegan diet often need to supplement with vitamin B12, as it's almost exclusively found in animal products. They might also need to pay attention to other nutrients like vitamin D, calcium, iodine, iron, zinc, and omega-3s, possibly requiring supplementation depending on their specific diet.
And pregnant women, older adults.
Pregnant individuals have increased needs for several nutrients like folic acid and iron. Older adults sometimes have difficulty absorbing certain vitamins like B12 or may have lower vitamin D levels. And people with certain health conditions like Crohn's disease or celiac disease might have impaired nutrient absorption and require specific supplements. In all these cases, it's crucial to consult a doctor or registered dietitian for personalized advice and often prescription strength supplements if needed.
So it really boils down to addressing specific, identifiable gaps or needs, rather than just taking a multivitamin just in case.
Largely, yes, for necessity, but there's also the aspect of optimization.
Optimization? What do you mean?
Well, as we discussed, achieving 100% micronutrient adequacy from diet alone can be elusive. So, while not strictly necessary for survival like preventing scurvy, supplements can potentially play a role for individuals seeking to optimize their health or performance beyond just meeting basic needs.
Can you give an example?
Creatine is a good one, especially in the sports nutrition world. Getting the amount of creatine shown to potentially enhance performance, ergogenic levels, from food alone is highly impractical. You'd need to eat like 1 to 2 kilograms of meat or fish daily, and plants don't contain it. So, for an athlete looking to optimize performance, creatine supplementation is a practical way to achieve those levels. It's clearly distinct from taking vitamin C to prevent deficiency.
Okay, so there's a difference between preventing deficiency and aiming for optimal levels for a specific goal.
Exactly. And more broadly, supplements can help fill potential nutrient gaps that might arise from busy lifestyles, inconsistent diets, limited access to fresh foods, or individual variations in absorption. But, and this is the critical point we keep coming back to, they are meant to supplement the diet, not replace it. They are not a substitute for a nutritious, balanced eating pattern.
That seems like the most important takeaway. They supplement, they don't substitute. So with all this nuance and the sea of information and misinformation out there, how can you, our listener, actually navigate this? How do you make informed decisions about what might be right for you personally and avoid getting swayed by hype or bad advice?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's a critical challenge. But there are definitely actionable steps you can take to become a more informed consumer.
Okay, what's step one?
First and foremost, and we've touched on this, always talk to a qualified healthcare professional before starting or changing your supplement routine. This could be your doctor, a registered dietitian, nutritionist, RDN, or maybe a pharmacist. They know your personal health history, medications, and can help assess if you actually need a supplement, and if so, which one and at what dose. Don't rely on Dr. Google or a social media influencer for personalized medical advice.
Okay, consult a professional. That makes sense.
Yeah.
What else?
Secondly, when you are choosing a supplement, look for evidence of third-party certification on the label.
Third-party certification, what does that mean?
It means an independent organization, one not affiliated with the supplement manufacturer, has tested the product to verify certain things. This could include verifying that the ingredients listed on the label are actually in the product and in the amount stated, checking for harmful levels of contaminants like heavy metals or pesticides, and ensuring it was manufactured according to good manufacturing practices.
Are there specific seals or names to look for?
Yes, some of the well-respected ones in the U.S. include NSF International, especially their Certified for Sport program, U.S. Pharmacopoeia, USP, Informed Choice Informed Sport, and the Banned Substances Control Group, BSCG. Seeing one of these marks provides an extra layer of assurance about the product's quality and safety. It doesn't guarantee effectiveness, but it does suggest better quality control.
That's really helpful. Look for those seals. What about doing your own research online? It feels like a minefield.
It can be, but there are reputable online resources you can turn to. Government sources are usually reliable. The National Institutes of Health, NIH, has an Office of Dietary Supplements, ODS, with excellent fact sheets for consumers. For military personnel and their families, there's Operation Supplement Safety, OPSS.
Okay, government sites, any non-government ones?
Yes, there are some independent consumer-focused platforms that provide evidence-based reviews and analysis. Examine.com is well regarded for summarizing scientific research on supplements and nutrition. Labdoor actually tests products and ranks them. Truth in Advertising, TINA.org, tracks misleading marketing claims. Using these can help you get a more objective view than just reading manufacturer websites.
Good resources. And what about the elephant in the room, social media?
Yes. You need to be extremely skeptical of supplement advice you get on social media platforms. There are many unqualified or uncertified individuals promoting products, often with hidden financial incentives. Their claims may be unsubstantiated or exaggerated.
Even if they have credentials, like MD or RD after their name.
Even then, unfortunately, credentials don't automatically guarantee accurate or unbiased information online. Always try to verify claims through reputable sources. Look for potential conflicts of interest. Are they selling the product they're recommending? And remember that personalized advice should come from your healthcare provider, not a generalized post online. Critical thinking is your best defense.
So, bringing this all together then, what's the bottom line for our listeners? It sounds like for most healthy adults eating a reasonably varied diet, you're probably getting enough vitamins and minerals already.
That's generally true. A varied, healthful diet should be the foundation.
And supplements, as the name clearly states, are meant to supplement that foundation, not replace it. They aren't some kind of magic bullet for perfect health or a shortcut to bypass healthy habits.
Precisely. They should be viewed as just one potential part of a comprehensive wellness routine, one that absolutely must include nutritious food, regular physical activity, adequate sleep, stress management, all those pillars of health.
It almost feels like our bodies are inherently designed to get what they need from whole foods, and supplements are more of a targeted tool for specific situations, rather than a daily necessity for everyone. Like our bodies are saying, thanks for the pill, but I'd really prefer the broccoli.
That's a great way to put it. And while the dietary supplement industry is undeniably massive, we mentioned $48 billion globally, and it's about $61 billion annually just in the US, which is still huge, though notably much smaller than the pharmaceutical industry. The key takeaway, I think, the final thought for you, our listener, is this quote. Not enough is known about many supplements, their risks, their benefits, or their correct dosage, and what's on the packaging can be very different from what's inside the product.
That really sums up the uncertainty, doesn't it?
It does. So the advice is to embrace that critical thinking we talked about. Question the hype. Consult trusted professionals for personalized guidance. Remember that there's no magic pill, only informed choices as part of a healthy lifestyle. So maybe the question to leave you with is, what stands out most to you now about navigating this really complex world of supplements?